Welcome to Collective Soulversations. I'm Jodi Jones, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this amazing journey exploring spirituality, healing, and personal growth. With over 15 years of experience as a psychic medium and energy healer, I've made it my mission to help people connect with their true selves, and I can't wait to share this journey with you. In every episode, I chat with incredible guests who bring their own unique stories and insights to the table. We dive into different tools and practices that can help support you on your path of self-discovery. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in this journey for a while, Collective Soulversations is all about creating a friendly and welcoming space for us to explore the mysteries of the soul together. So grab your favorite cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive into this enlightening adventure together. Hey everybody, welcome to Collective Soulversations. I am your host, Jodi Jones, and I have a wonderful, beautiful soul with us today. I've had the pleasure of knowing Dr. Yvonne Oswald for many years. I've been privileged enough to actually take some classes with her, some courses with her. Back in the day when I had my wellness center, she would come there and teach for us. And, it's not often that this happens, which is sad, but you get a brilliant teacher. And she is somebody that I would describe as brilliant because not only does she share, all of the wisdom and everything that she's learned and experienced in her lifetime and, her academia that's, behind her, but she has this like spark within her, and you guys will see this today. And so I'm super excited that we have her. I'm going to just give you her bio. Again, it never does people justice. That's why we'll bring her in quickly and get her backstory so you guys can get to know the full Dr. Yvonne Oswald. So she is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. She is top 3 in the world global NLP gurus. She's recognized recognized thought empowerment leader. She's also a global leader of human empowerment and is the award-winning best-selling author of Every Word Has Power, now available in 11 languages, and co-author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Cracking the Rich Code from 2019. Dr. Yvonne is at the leading edge of the new field of human behavioral technology, ranked #3 in the world of global NLP gurus. She has an outstanding reputation for exciting, innovative, fun, and interactive trainings in corporate, public, and private sectors. She is a renowned and respected international keynote speaker, communications and sales trainer, master trainer of NLP, and master trainer of hypnosis. U.S. national awards include the NATH Most Unique Contribution to the Field of Clinical Hypnosis for her unique techniques in changing negative self-talk and DNA transformation, and the COVR Visionary Award nomination for Mind Magic, her pioneering process of clearing a negative emotion in less than a minute. Dr. Yvonne's unparalleled 4-hour breakthrough blueprint is a remarkable innovation in the field of neurological medicine. And you can watch Dr. Yvonne's stuff on YouTube, and I will put all those links in there so that you guys know how to contact. She actually has a special gift for our listeners, which I'll include the links in that as well. So welcome, Dr. Yvonne. How are you?
I'm good, Jodi. Thank you for inviting me on. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I love how I don't know if you remember me as one of your students,
Yes, I do.
back in the day.
Because when I saw your name come up on my thing, I know that name. But okay.
Yeah, I was lucky that enough to have you in for clients. Like we had students but then I also got the opportunity to be a student of yours,
Right.
and took the past life regression training, and then took the how to write your book training, and
right. Gosh.
and I have to say, and I'm sure I said this to you there, I feel like I'm gushing a bit, but you were such a pleasure.
Okay, stop.
You were such a pleasure to be a student of, because you are one of those people that not only commands an audience, but also like just through the storytelling that you would tell of, this incident or that incident, I felt like I gained so much wisdom just being in your presence. So that's very
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
I feel like it's really important for our listeners to get to know who you are, how you got to where you are. Like, so all of this, the academia that you have, all the training that you've done, all of the,
Yeah.
take us back in time to Yvonne before she was Dr. Yvonne Oswald,
Yeah.
and let us know like what transformational pushing nudges experiences brought you to start this path of what you're doing.
Wow, it's a long path, that's for sure. And I was born in Manchester, England. You can still hear the accent. I know it's been a long time. I became a teacher, and before that, my father was not a nice person, sexual, mental, emotional abuse. And my sister died when I was 12 and she was 10. And he told me he wished I'd died instead of her. So I spent the whole of my teens going a bit wild. I mean, I didn't do drinking, drugs and things. I was just a bit wild and rebellious, I guess. And then, of course, in my 20s, I lived in South Africa. I got married at 21 just to escape. And of course, came back 4 years later without the husband, and lived in Italy for 3 years teaching English as second language. Came back to England for 3 years, bought a house. Then I went to Portugal for 3 years. Then I came finally to Canada at 36. And when I got to Canada, I was like, wow, these are strange people. They're really nice to each other. Because in England, typically people aren't nice. It's like if you can get an insult in, they'll get one in. And I was like, this is really creepy. Everybody's being super sweet to each other. And then I finally realized that it wasn't them who had the issues, it was me. And I was like, okay, I better start working on myself. And I did everything. I did, oh gosh, rebirthing. I did gestalt therapy, talk therapy, scream therapy, you name it. I did everything. And it kind of worked for a little bit. It lifted the emotions off the top. It didn't really clear what was happening underneath. And so I started delving into all kinds of things. When I discovered hypnosis, I was like, wow, this is amazing. 4 days, and I slept through most of it. And I came out of that saying, I have done everything there is to know about this. And I started in my master's. I did 2 different masters in hypnosis. Then I did my trainer's training. And a friend of ours said, if you like hypnosis, you will love NLP. And I'm like, what's NLP? And he said neuro-linguistic programming. He said we just reroute the nerve structure so that you actually can't get to that old memory again. I'm like, that's interesting. And of course, there are a lot of communication strategies in NLP, it was kind of invented in about the 1980s. Richard Bandler and John Grinder got together and said, how is it that some people can work with people and produce amazing results, and some people work with the same things and don't produce the same results? So what they did is they studied hours and hours of Milton Erickson, on video and said, how is it that you're looking at that woman's ankle? And he said, I'm looking at the heartbeat to see if it's slowing down. And they said, why are you looking at her chest? And he said, I'm looking at her shoulders and I'm matching my breathing with hers. And I was like, this is amazing that you can join someone else in their world and bring them into yours. And then, of course, with the NLP, I learned all these techniques. And a lot of them were written like, so tell the client to do this, and then tell the client to do that, and then tell them. I'm like, why would we do that? When I was teaching, I just thought, why don't I just script everything? So that you just literally read from the page, put your hand on your knee, in a loose fist on your knee like this, and then I'm going to put my finger on it. It was just so easy to script it. And I found ever since, any NLP technique I find, I always think, what could I do with this that's different? So I've literally invented, gosh, I don't know how many techniques. And the quicker, the better. For me, if it takes everybody else 3 years, can I do it in 3 minutes? And yes, I can.
Right. That's pretty impressive for sure.
Yeah, so I've literally become really well known for PTSD, depression, suicide. I mean, it's not rocket science. It really isn't. Everybody tries to complicate it. And it's such a simple, the mind is such a simple device. It's like a computer.
Once you figure.
Where do we invent computers from? Our minds. So it has
Right.
to be a reflection, right?
Right, for sure.
And
And
it's
so
just,
how did you find it? So, I, you know, I know you said that there was some trauma and drama from when you were childhood, from
Mhm.
your childhood. And do you go through it just quickly and not want to sit there and talk about that because you've healed so much from it? Is it kind of like now it's in the distance past?
It's
It
so in the
doesn't.
past. It really is. My father used to come in when I was about 6 or 7, and he'd come from work, and as he walked in the front door, his face was like, because he was in a bad mood, he'd just hit the first person who came to, because there were
Right.
four girls in the house. And he would walk in and we just scatter, like get out the way fast. And literally, anytime I ever thought of him in the future, I had this memory of him doing this. And then after I'd done the NLP, I had this memory of him coming home from work doing this. I have no idea if he ever did that. I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
And I seriously don't care, because that's a much nicer memory to have than the ones I had. So yeah, I've literally spent years clearing things. And I love
And so
looking
it's
at my
literally
life.
a brain hack then. Is that what you've done is you go in and you're hacking the brain, you're changing the way the brain is
You're
interpreting
changing the neural
things?
pathways, as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, and the biggest thing about it, Jodi, people don't realize, is the eyes. Have you heard of EMDR? Where they do the rapid eye movement thing?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
super slow. It's like watching paint dry. It's I cannot do it. I did a course and I was like, oh, can we go faster than this? It's like,
Right.
and I actually, what I realized was the direction the eyes point when you remember a memory is the driving memory thing behind the memory. So they call it the driver of the memory. So if I remember an old memory, like my father coming in the door like that, like not nice, I'll be looking up here. If I can change that into a nice memory where I can remember looking at a baby child like this and watching it play, then what happens is we get the two separate memories. And then I'll say, think of the old memory while looking at that child playing. And you go through all these submodality, big, small, white, black and white, or color, etc. And if you just do it 3 times, you cannot remember that old memory back again.
Wow.
It just literally, you try and get up there and it just goes straight down to there. It goes to a happy place instead. And it
And
just
so I'm just
neutralizes
seeing when
it.
you're doing that and let me know if this is it a lot to do with the mind body connection? Because I just I noticed when you're talking about the eye directions going in one, but then the head, I noticed for myself, and my chiropractor has pointed this out to me when he's watched my videos. He will be like, you tilt to the right when you're
Yes,
talking. And so is that,
that's a
does the
good
body,
thing.
is it a
No, in
good thing?
NLP, that's fantastic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It
why
says you're
is it
really good with
fantastic?
people. No, you're really good with people. When the thing people don't realize is that you've got 0.012 of a second to make someone like you. From the old days in the jungle, you had to know immediately if someone's coming towards you, whether they were friendly or not.
Right.
And literally, if I say to you, hello, I'm Dr. Yvonne, it looks really unfriendly. But if I say, hello, I'm Dr. Yvonne, how are you? Right?
Right.
And it's actually the eyebrow movement that makes you look friendly. If you just do your eyebrows and say hello, it actually opens your eyes, expands your pupils, and you get an endorphin rush, they get an endorphin rush, and we know you're friendly. So
That's
yeah,
very
the head to
interesting.
one side when you're listening. When you want to talk, you put your head up right.
Right. Well, I would say to him, because I find when I am channeling, so when I'm doing my mediumship or my
Yeah,
psychic work, it's
yeah.
for whatever reason it feels like I hear or listen better when my head is
Yes, exactly.
energetically tilting. So,
Yeah,
well, that's
that's
good to know.
interesting. I'm going to watch myself next time I do that. My where I'm hearing is from back here. I see pictures from back here on the right hand side.
Right.
And that I go inside and look at the back of my head almost when I'm doing clairvoyant and mediumship work.
Yeah.
And the hearing comes this way. The hearing comes in this ear.
And I
So
think
yeah,
it's different for everybody, right? Because
it is
it'll
different.
be, yeah, for
Yes,
sure,
you're right.
how
You're
however
absolutely
you
right about that.
receive it. So you, through your training, then you must have had to. Was there a point where you had to do a lot of self discovery though, like really getting to know?
Every day,
Yeah. Tell
still.
me it hasn't ended, right?
No,
You're
it's never ending. There's always more stuff to find. It's like, not again. I thought, you know what? What's really useful for me? When I teach a class, I look around the class and I think, who do I like? And I'm like, I like her because she's this. I like him because he's that. And I think, oh, good, I've sorted that out. Then I'll find the one I don't particularly like or don't take to, and I'll think, I really haven't got rid of the control issues yet. Seriously. It's like, because Carl Jung said, life is a mirror. Whoever you're
right,
in you cannot see in someone else that which you don't have.
right.
So it kind of, I'm still judgmental. I know I am. And I get the judgment first, and I rethink it and think and point it back at me.
Good.
So it's like, okay, there's an angry person. Woo, she's angry. What am I angry about again? It's like,
I love that you're doing that. That is like such great advice because
mm,
Spirit's been talking so much lately about the whole resonance of how we resonate with
yeah,
certain things. And,
yeah.
you know, when the angry, judgmental people are showing up in our lives, it's because, oh, yeah, that's another
Well,
lesson for
something else
another.
I've got to work on.
Right. But do you feel like, so is that how the simplicity of the mind is, where if we have the awareness of something, we can
Yeah,
recognize it, right? Like, so, you
doesn't
know,
work like that.
yeah, like I feel like this was something Spirit had shared with me a long time ago was,
Mhm.
you know, how when addicts they join, you know, like Alcoholic Anonymous, and they're,
Yes.
you know, sitting in group, and they're, you know, introducing themselves. Yes, my name is so and so, and yes, I am a. They just showed me that when we do that stuff, it's just engraving it more into
More
who
and
you
more.
are.
That's why talk therapy doesn't work. Exactly. Being aware of it isn't enough.
Yeah,
You have to literally retrieve it. And every single thing you ever made a decision about happened before you were 7.
before you were 7.
Before you were 7. The number of times I go back to pre-birth, preconception, you have no idea.
Wow.
And it's interesting that the mother, while she's pregnant, has those hormones and, you know, emotions going through. Often the baby, I'll say, you know, at 6 months, what is your mother feeling? And they'll say she's afraid. And I'm like, what are you feeling? I'm afraid too, but I don't know what I'm afraid about, because she's afraid. She's passing it on to me. And
Right.
I'll take them through the birth process. They'll be absolutely petrified as they're coming in. Take them to do the inner child, meet the 5-year-old and say, I'm sorry, I wasn't there for you. And
Hmm.
then we go back and redo it the second time round at 6 months. I say, can you separate out your feelings from your mother's right now?
Hmm.
And they say yes. And I'll say, good. So how are you feeling? I'm feeling okay. And then coming towards the birth the second time round, when you do it, when you just reroute it, the second time they're like, I'm really excited. I've got a job to do.
Wow.
Every time. And I'm like, thank you. That's where we want to start the story, really, is where
Right.
they get self-empowered, right? So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's, and so do you believe then, so that we go in like 7-year cycles then? Is that something that, because I know like you're also like a numerology queen.
I
You know,
know. I love learning. I really do. It's like,
well, and I can remember that you were doing like little bits of numerology for us when we were taking the classes, and it was
yes,
just mind-blowing stuff
yeah,
because, you know, it's you know, obviously numbers hold frequencies, and frequencies generate
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's 9-year cycles, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9. There isn't 0 in numerology.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So what happens is, we were talking yet today. I was talking with the client this morning. When you're born, the planets are aligned just so. And then God gives you, like, or guides or whoever you want to believe in the universe, gives you 28 years to play. And then at 28, they stand there and say, okay, now you're ready to learn something new.
Mhm.
So 28 is a big year for just about everybody. You get divorced, or you have a baby, or you get married, or you go to university, or you change your job, or all the big things are centered around that 28th year.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's very interesting how you can watch the patterns start to occur. And if you think about it, the unconscious mind's only job is to keep you alive, to preserve the body. So what happens is, when you're a child, somebody shouting at you can be perceived as a life-threatening experience.
Right.
So, you know, if you've got a parent who shouts a lot, as I did, anybody who shouts when you're an adult, you immediately go on to high alert and what's happening. And it's not needed quite often. What my job is to convince the unconscious mind it's okay, that incident's over, the person's safe now, you can back off, you can go down to green instead of being on red. And it
And
works.
is that who we take our is so who what part of our brain is storing all of the memories, like all of the trauma and all of the memories?
Usually the amygdala. I mean, most people live in the amygdala and the limbic brain, you know, the 200,000-year-old brain,
Right.
when we lived in groups, right?
Right.
And we've developed the prefrontal cortex, which is this area. And on the left side, I'll mirror it for you. Hang on, my left is that. So on your left side here, this is where it's actually here. That's the prefrontal cortex, and that's the thinking brain. That's the analytical brain, the one that actually makes sense of everything. So if we can get from the emotions and get out of that into the amygdala, into the prefrontal cortex, The prefrontal cortex has a direct connection with the nucleus accumbens, which is the reward center. So if you can get out of that yucky place really fast and up here, then what happens? The nucleus accumbens comes in, you feel fine. It's neutral. So
Interesting.
even the heaviest duty memories, even the ones where, gosh, I mean, I've had people who watched the mother be axed to death by the brother, you know, and that's not a memory that you lose, that you can get rid of very easily, because of course I could die too, right?
Right.
And it took about 3 minutes. It's
Wow.
really not rocket science to clear it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so is it when you're looking at these memories, like do you see them just as like little computer chips that are stored there? Is that all
It's just, they can either be moving or still.
okay.
So usually, funnily enough, of all the years I've been doing this, there are very little sounds in the memories.
Hmm.
Sometimes there are sounds, but more often than not, there's no sound.
Hmm.
It's very interesting that the visuals there quite often. And of course, the people who are auditory digital people, like your Dr. Spock or your Sheldons, they don't
Hmm.
see pictures. They actually think about things.
Hmm.
My ex was auditory digital. It's about 15% of the population. And they think in a linear fashion. You and I are visual, kinesthetic. So we'll think we're spontaneous, you know, we'll go in a room, we'll feel it, we'll feel the person. I like this house, whatever. They'd have to study the whole room before they come to a conclusion, you know, and it's like endless discussions about things. And they start the other way around. They start with the prefrontal cortex, and finally it might end up in the amygdala and limbic brain. So by the time it gets there, there's very few emotions left.
Wow.
So
So
you'll
are
pass
they in a
it.
better place than we are? Are they
Yeah,
doing it better?
not
Because it seems
really,
like we're
because
adding all the emotions, which complicates it.
better, yes, in some ways, if you want to be like emotionless, sure. But the thing is, what's interesting about it, they often don't know how to express emotions. Then they don't make good marriage partners. They don't make good business people. They make good business people because they're very logical.
Right.
However, in a relationship, it's not a fun thing to live with.
Yeah, I can imagine. So
Oh,
I'm just being shown Elon Musk because of course, he's big in the
yeah,
news with all of the stuff right now. So do you feel like he would be somebody like that who's not, he has said himself that he's on the spectrum.
yeah,
Which I believe almost every person on this planet right now is
yeah,
on the
that's true.
spectrum,
Yeah.
right?
It's interesting because the auditory digital people quite often come across as having Asperger's. They don't have that same, like a visual person will say, hi, and come rush you and grab
Right.
you like a kinesthetic person.
Right.
Someone auditory will talk to you and just talk, not looking at you, even though they're listening with the ears 100%, but they're not looking at you.
Right.
Someone who's auditory digital will stand with their arms at the side very, very straight and just speak. So I always do it like this, ready? So say you want sex and you come in from work and the front door opens and someone's there. And if you're visual, you'll go, whoa, you're looking good today. Gives a kiss. Come on, let's go. Right.
Right.
If you're kinesthetic, you'll walk up and you'll say, oh, give me a hug. I've just wanted a hug all day. Oh, should we go and, sit down, get some chocolate and just lick it off each other's bodies and just enjoy the night, and that kind of thing.
Right.
And then if you're auditory, you'll want a discussion about the day. So
Okay.
you'll come in and you'll say, let's talk about how our day went, get a drink, discuss it, and then maybe we'll have sex later, kind of thing. Someone who's auditory digital will walk up and just say, hi, um, let's have dinner first, then 10 o'clock we'll watch the news, then you want sex after that?
Right.
It's like totally like loses the spontaneity a lot, right?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, and the four different types of representation systems, how we absorb information, are so different. I mean, the interesting news is 65% of the population are visual, which
Right.
is good, which makes us have an advantage in school, actually.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. I do feel like, though, I know from a spiritual perspective, it's not good to be on the other end, but I also feel like it'd be much simpler and much easier, right? There's no guessing about how you're feeling or what we have. Like,
Nope.
here it is. Here's what we have to do. Let's do it.
Here it is on the plate. That's how it is. That's it. Black and white. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And I would imagine there's, that part of me right now that's just because feeling so much chaos energy in the world right now, something
Yeah.
simple like that feels good. But I'm sure, 5 minutes into it, I'd be like, okay, well, this isn't going to
You
work.
couldn't deal with it. Jodi, you couldn't deal with it. I remember one day crying about something because I'm visual kinesthetic and he was auditory digital auditory, so very, very Mr. Spock.
Right.
And I'm crying. I'm saying, you don't feel it. You can't see what I'm feeling, can you? You can't see what I mean. You just, oh my God, I can't believe you're not changing. And he's like, I notice that you are feeling very emotional right now. And I appreciate that I haven't done this well. So is it okay if I do it better in the future? Will that be okay with you? And I'm like, yes, did I win that one? Like, there's nothing to work with. You can't get that empathy or understanding there.
Right. Yeah. It'd be
Definitely
kind of
lack of
like, being
empathy.
with an AI right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's your computer geeks and your finance people, although, the higher up finance people tend to have a good mix of all the systems because they have to get on with people.
Right. Yeah. That makes total sense.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun to learn about. It's
well,
amazing.
I love that because again, I mean, when I'm doing readings for people, of course, it's my job to read energy and read. And
Yeah.
I've since I was a child, I love people watching.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can I can remember going to the grocery store with my mom and
Yeah.
sitting outside waiting for her, and I could just sit there and watch all the people come and go and
Yeah.
hear and feel their stories and
Yes. I know.
yeah, entertainment
Amazing.
at the best of it for sure.
Yeah.
But you take it to another level because then you're like, okay, well, your body's doing this, which is telling me that. And so
Yeah.
here's how we can fix and change things. So, is there, with the training with the NLP and all of that you're doing, is there a similarity or connection to neural circuitry? That's something that's come up recently in my healing
I
journey.
guess so. It's the same thing. You're changing the circuit so that you're chopping off the circuit to the old memory,
Right.
therefore the emotions. The thing is with the memory, we're run by our emotions. That's how we survive. That's our survival mechanism. It's all about emotions. So if we have an emotional attachment to a memory, that means it's not clear. It's not finished with. The unconscious mind is saying, you know what, we need to talk about this. Are we safe? Can we let this one go or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here's the interesting thing. People will say, oh, I'm just feeling great. And suddenly all my childhood stuff came up. And it's like, yeah, it's like you're at Disney and you're enjoying yourself. And then suddenly something from your childhood pops into your head and then it ruins the day.
Right.
And it's basically, as a child, your unconscious mind takes those memories, takes those not nice experiences, events, puts them in a box and says, later on, when you're feeling better, we'll talk about this. Okay. And it will give you a negative emotion to show you that there's something happening right now, which reminds me of when you were 3. Is it, are we safe to let it go or not?
Mm-hmm.
It's just your unconscious mind's way of communicating with you with the emotions. So
Right.
literally, it's you need to, when you're in a great place, that's a great place to work on things because it can just be brought up really simply and just move through. When you're in the middle of the place, it's not so easy to clear because you're in the middle of everything happening.
And so what's the best advice then if you're in the middle of something that's not great? If you're in
You
the
use one
middle
of the NLP techniques. I'm actually writing a book on the fastest NLP technique to clear emotions.
and so that would be something as a dialogue, you're saying it's a script that you would say to
It's a
yourself while
script. You
you're
read it into your phone, you listen back, bump, it's gone.
wow.
So let me show you. Ready?
Okay.
I'll show you how to do the twirl and flip. I call it the twirl and flip. They actually use it to release cravings for potato chips and chocolate and things in NLP, but I use it for emotions. So if you think of a time when you're frustrated, and everybody gets frustrated every single day, so it's really easy
Yes.
to clear, right?
Five minutes ago
Yeah,
before we got yeah,
exactly. So if you think about that frustration, where are you holding it in your body? If you were to pretend to know or think you might know, where would it be?
in my forehead.
In your forehead, right? So close your eyes and make that a shape and a color. What color and shape is it?
A square and navy blue.
Square and blue. And I want you to spin it clockwise or anti-clockwise, the shape. Which way would it like to go?
Anti-clockwise.
Cool. Pop it out of your forehead and pop it upside down. So now it's going clockwise. And make it a different shape and color. What shape and color would it like to be now?
Round and yellow.
Round and yellow. That's absolutely perfect. This will work. So pop the clockwise shape back into your forehead, the round yellow shape back into your forehead. Lock it in, click your fingers and open your eyes. And now try to feel that frustration that you had 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it feels much later. Yeah.
It won't be much lighter, it'll be gone. It'll be neutral.
That's good.
I don't take a bit better. It's black or white with me. It's gone or it's not. Go ahead and try and feel it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
it's
there.
neutral.
No.
People try and hang on to it, it's so funny. Oh,
Right.
a bit better. No, it isn't. It's gone or it's not
Yeah.
gone,
No,
right?
I'm good to let it go. I'm like, yeah.
Well, the thing is with the NLP, you don't need to let it go. It will do its own work. And the beauty of it is I can teach you this technique and 2 weeks later you can do it yourself and it will work on the other person, even though you don't know what you're doing.
Right. Which is beautiful because again, it's,
Right.
this new age of Aquarius that we're coming into is about empowering yourself and being your own
Yes,
healer.
exactly.
So when they're giving, the gifts to us where it's something that somebody can teach us and then 5 minutes later we're using it to help ourselves, that's
Yes.
power.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'll wake up in the morning and usually I do a hypnosis MP3. That's my normal morning routine. I wake up at 7, go like, have the phone next to my ear and I just go like, I'll this one today, thank you. And I just close my eyes and go back to sleep for a while. And then when I get up, if I've got any negative emotions coming up during the day, I'll use one of the NLP techniques to clear it. So, and
Beautiful.
it takes about 3 minutes. You can just go into if you're not getting on well with people at work, for instance, you can go into the washroom, clear that emotion, and I usually use the mind magic, which is my invention. It's actually on YouTube. It's Yvonne Oswald Mind Magic. And you literally go, release the root cause of my resentment towards that horrible woman, preserve the positive lessons for my health and benefit. And three times and it's gone.
Wow.
So when you need to use the negative words for it, even though I'm very much a great believer in the positive words, you need to use the actual words. You can't say that not very nice lady, because
Right.
that's not how you're feeling about it. How you're feeling is that.
Gotta be honest. Right.
Yeah. Well, think of it like this. A not very nice lady, if you think of that, if you type that into the internet, you'll get things of not very nice ladies. If you put horrible woman who I don't like at all, say horrible woman,
Right.
if you type that into the internet, you'll get a totally different thing.
Right.
So we want the file folder that's actually stored in. So if you think of each event as a file folder with lots of documents in it, and the documents are the names of the emotions. So you'll find in any event, I usually find about 50 emotions underneath the big event.
Wow.
And the 4 emotions are anger, sadness, fear, and guilt. And then anxiety is a totally different emotion because anxiety is a future-based emotion. We treat it differently.
Well, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I love this stuff.
And so can you tell us a little bit more about so this mind magic, how did that come to you? Like, how did you create it? Where did it come from?
Well, it was interesting because my 5-year-old was not sleeping. She'd watched a zombie program and she couldn't sleep. It was 5 times a night screaming. And I'd be there till 3 in the morning. It's okay, we'll go to the park tomorrow. You just close your eyes. And I'm like this. Nothing worked. And then I thought after about 3 weeks, I was like, couldn't keep my eyes open. And I thought, I have to invent something. I have to know enough about this topic that I could invent something. So I thought, how do we get into a nice place? We go into the Hawaiian state of Hakalau, which is where you look up, you choose a spot on the ceiling, and you've got you can't focus on the right and the left while you're looking up there. You can't feel a negative emotion. It's impossible. You're using the different part of your brain. You know the expression, keep your chin up?
Right?
Exactly. If you keep your chin up, you can't feel sadness.
Really?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So then I thought, and what else can I do? Okay, we take a deep breath, because if you take a belly breath, what happens is the diaphragm is pushed down. So people, when they take a deep breath, go like this usually, and pull it up. If you push the belly out, it pushes the diaphragm down and it tells your unconscious mind the danger's over, we're good. Okay. The interesting thing is too, if you take a breath in, go ahead and take a breath through your nose, Jodi. Where's your tongue?
Sitting at the bottom.
Oh, it's sitting at the bottom. Very good. Most people, when they do that, sitting at the top of the mouth.
Really?
And it's literally putting your body under stress. When your tongue is at the top of the mouth, it says there's danger. So if you use an open mouth breath like this, the tongue has to be on the bottom, so it's telling the unconscious mind danger's over. So you've got the tongue down, the diaphragm down, you've got the looking up, and then to release the emotion, you need to have what's called an anchor in NLP. So it's left hand in a loose fist on your knee, and you're going to touch this knuckle here. You're going to place an anchor here and literally look up, choose your spot on the ceiling, take a deep breath, release the root cause of this sadness, preserve the positive lessons from health and benefit, boom, and you do it 3 times, it will be gone.
Wow.
So the 2 instructions your unconscious mind needs are, number 1, release the root cause of this. That's why the tapping doesn't work well. You know this, I hate myself,
Yes,
I
the
love
EFT.
myself.
Yeah.
The EFT. Can't deal with that. It's like, to me, it's very dangerous. You bringing emotions up without actually going to root cause. So if we release the root cause of whatever it is, because your unconscious mind knows where it began, it's got the memory there.
Right.
And preserve the positive lessons for me. Those 2 instructions the unconscious mind has to obey. It's like, alt delete on the computer. It has to follow the instruction. So it's super simple. And usually if you release sadness, anger will come up. If you release anger, sadness will come up to follow it. So you release that as well. And if you can, it's wonderful playing with emotions. I mean, absolutely amazing, actually. I was going to get my little book with all the emotions in it, but there are hundreds of negative emotions. There are only about a dozen or 20 positive ones.
Really?
Yes, it's crazy how many there are. So yeah,
Wow.
I've been collecting them for about 10 years, and I can't fit any more emotions on the page. There's so many negative emotions.
And
And
that's
then
because we're just keep morphing them, right? We keep on just expanding them and expanding them.
well, and it's not, you may think it's anger, but it may be resentment.
Right.
So if you can name those emotions, then you're going to be a lot better off, because you can actually, once you name the emotion, it's like, oh, that one, I've got that box, I'll delete that one for you. Yeah, sure.
And it's that simple. We can
That
just,
simple. It's that simple. That people make this big complicated thing, the 2 not easy ones are OCD behaviors and anorexia. OCD behaviors, because they've been doing it so long, they've got that neural pathway set up completely on autopilot.
right.
So you have to redirect the direction, the autopilot, to another place. So, for instance, if you want to, a lot of times people can't get out of the car because they've got OCD behaviors. They have to make sure it's safe. They have to make sure the
Right.
brakes on. They have to go through it 5 times. And I was working with someone a few weeks ago, and I said, "Can we use the phrase 1 and done?" And she was like, "That's a good idea. 1 and done."
Right.
So she actually said 1 and done each time she did the behavior. It took about 3 times, and she didn't have the behavior anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what about PTSD? So here I'll share a little bit of experience with myself. So when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
I had what my doctor called a panic attack. It was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like it. For
Yeah.
me, it was different than your regular, heart palpitations. I felt like electricity was flying through my body.
Right.
It scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what was going on. It was a very scary period, and it lasted for quite a while, and I actually went to bed that night and prayed for like hours
Beautiful.
because I didn't know what I had no idea what it was, but I intuitively knew pray, just pray.
Yes.
And then the next day I went to the doctor, and then my doctor, very calmly said to me, "This was a panic attack. You had a panic attack." And of course, gave me medication but the thing is that, and I didn't stay on it for very long because I'm, energetically sensitive to everything. So
Yeah, I'm
it
the
was like,
same. I don't enjoy drugs at all.
and, but the thing was, I only had that experience one time in my entire life, but it stayed with me in my mind. Like I was in fear of it happening again for
Right.
years.
Yeah, and that's called anxiety. That's a different emotion altogether than fear. So yeah, the PTSD is super simple to clear. Super simple to clear for me.
And so
I
what is
work
the
with
PTSD about energetically? Like, why does that happen?
it's literally, we're gonna die. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. And literally what happens is if this, like a car crash, or I mean, one guy who had really not good PTSD, he was in Iraq. I worked with a lot with the war people, and also with the people in the North American Indians that were First Nations who were sexually abused. That worked a lot with those as well.
Right.
This guy was on a tank sitting with his best friend. Turned around, his best friend's head had been blown off,
Oh
and
my
the
God.
guilt he had from that for years, and I should have died instead of him. I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. I cleared the PTSD in seconds, because the thing is, what happens then is it's like, he died, I could die as well. So there was a loud noise that went along with it. So every time he heard a loud noise, he was like shaking in fear. His unconscious mind says, oh, it's happening again. We could die this time. And it goes into, it doesn't just go into mild alert, it goes into high alert. You know, you watch something that's traumatic, or you're in something traumatic, and from that second on, you're on high alert. And it can happen from 5 years old, and you can stay on high alert your whole life, actually. Quite interesting. So what I did with him, I cleared the PTSD, and then I did a little temple meditation where he went into the temple, met his guide, went into the garden, talked to his friend, and said, you know, I'm so sorry it happened. And the friend said, it's okay. He said, it was my turn to go. It was nothing to do with you. You couldn't have made any difference. And thank you for being such a great friend to me all those years. And it was just came completely gone when he finished. Really lovely.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, because people who have, you know, the people die and they don't get to say goodbye to them.
Right.
Or an abortion is even more interesting, because, you know, even though they say, yeah, it happened, it was no big deal, you know, I got over it. I take them to meet the little baby, and they're in floods of tears, and they're so regretful and so sorry about it. But you need that completion, you need that closure to be able to let it go. It's in your body, otherwise we store emotions in our body, remember?
Right.
So it's going to go, your body's going to catch up with it, and eventually something's not going to work in your body, physical body, if you don't release it.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I can remember in one of the classes that you were teaching, and I found this like so interesting. And this was, you know, so many years ago. It was before I was doing mediumship or psychic work. And so it probably was new information that I received. But you talked to us about how when a soul incarnates, and how when there's a lot of, you know, trauma, because you use the example of a soldier. So somebody who like was killing a lot of people, or who'd murdered a lot of people, and then, you know, comes into this lifetime. To you explained that some souls have a lot of work to do in particular lifetimes.
I did.
Can you share a little bit about that? Yeah, I know. Anybody else out there, one of those
I
souls?
know,
But
exactly.
can you
And
tell us
helping
why?
people had a not great life previous. Yeah, the very interesting thing about that is when you do actions that are not congruent. So let's take the the Crusaders. They go into wherever it is, you know, I'm Christian, I'm going to kill you because you're not Christian, and they go in with a true yes, I'm doing this for God.
Right.
Okay? When they die, they don't necessarily need to pay for that, because they did it with a true intent. Okay. So what happens then is they'll be given a few more lifetimes, and eventually they'll come to the conclusion that that wasn't a good lifetime. I need to do something different. Okay. So they'll also be put in that position where they were killed by someone else for their beliefs or whatever. In Vietnam, what happened was very interesting, because that was the first war when people said, I'm not going to kill innocent people. Sorry, not happening. Because we were entering the age of Aquarius, remember, in 1967, the 33-year cusp before the year 2000. And they said for the first time, sorry, not happening. Right now, he still goes in and commits murder, or basically, because that's what it is, then they'll most likely end up with PTSD, because it's not congruent with their belief system, and they went against the belief system. So their unconscious mind knows that. Yeah, it's super interesting when you get into the reasons why. And I always say, you know, you choose I do believe you choose your parents. I've done this for 40 years. I've never had anybody not choose the parents.
Right.
It's like, what happens is I'll quite often say, did you get a choice of parents? And they'll say yes. I'll say, what's you guys saying? And they'll say, you know, these are your parents. And they'll say, can I have other ones? And they'll say, yeah, you can have these or these. And they'll go, oh, no, I'll stick with the ones you chose for me. It's all right. Thank you. All right. And usually what happens is you choose your parents according to the lessons you need to learn.
Right.
So if you need to learn how to love, you'll be born into a family group that isn't very loving. If you need to learn about relationships, if you've been a nun or a priest for centuries, you'll need to be in a family group which is very touchy-feely, so that you learn how to do that, right?
Right.
It's very interesting. And numerology fits in so well with that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
If you've got any ones in your numbers, like January and January now, if you've got January, it means you need to be your own person. Number one, you need to learn who you are as a person.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very, very fascinating when you get to it. And you know,
Yeah, that's
you may not necessarily be here to get married, settle down, have children, etc. You may be here to learn about money. And if you're here to learn, if you've never had money for centuries, you've been looked after by the landowner, or you've always been rich or something, you have to learn how to make your own money.
mm-hmm.
So if you carry on doing that helping job that we all do,
Right.
it's like, you know, throw yourself under the bus for 2,000 years, and God says, this time you need to learn how to receive. And you go, oh, but I'm so good at that giving thing. Can I do that one again? I'm really good at it. I'll tell people, you need to learn to receive. And they go, do I have to?
Right.
Yes, you do, because that's your job this time.
Which sounds kind of crazy that we would have resistance to being like, yeah, I know I don't want to receive this time. I just want
You'd
to
be
keep on.
amazed. Like, it's just about every client I ever have is like, oh, can I not just give? It's like, you want to be happy? Then stop giving and start to learn how to receive. You know, you know what it is? It's the infinity sign. I
Right.
give to you, you give back to me equally,
Right.
an equal exchange of energy.
So do
When
you think that that would be like the story with an empath? You know, we use the word empath a lot now. So is that an empath somebody who's stuck in that cycle of giving and not being able to receive?
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, when we see someone who we say we pick up their emotions, we're not picking up their emotions, we're picking our emotions up. So, you know, you couldn't pick up their emotions if you didn't have those to trigger.
Right.
So, you
Right.
know, if you get angry at someone, usually you get angry back, right?
Yes.
If
Well,
someone's
that's why I
angry,
call myself an empowered empath because I feel
okay,
like, there are a lot of empaths out there that feel, and I've been around, back in the day of, they
yeah.
walk into a room and, oh, the room feels bad. Oh, I feel bad.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But then it would be like, well, maybe it's in you that you're feeling. Maybe
Yes,
it's
exactly,
that
exactly.
accountability, right? I
Yeah,
can recognize that. There's nothing I recognize anything that I feel in somebody else is something that I'm holding myself, and that's how I recognize the vibration of it. So,
good. Yes, exactly. I had a lot of poltergeist activity around me when I was a teenager, when I was 13, 14, because of course I had the abusive childhood, then my sister died, etc., etc. And literally, the lights, all the lights in the whole house will be on, or all the knives will be lined up in a row on the counter, or all
right.
the scissors, or you know, I'd open a cupboard and literally a cup would fly into the air and just drop on the floor and smash.
Oh
And the
no.
good news is, my mother was brought up by my grandma, who she started the Spiritualist Church in England in 1950s, and she was a hands-on healer. So she was used to spiritual things happening and what they're all about. And she'd just say, "Oh, you've been at it again, haven't you?" And I knew it was me, but I didn't know what I was doing to cause it to happen.
Right.
So it was all the anger and the frustration and the resentment I had inside being just popped onto the outside. And when I started working on the anger and stuff, it never happened again.
Wow.
So it's a very predictable thing. You know, you don't have to
And is
be,
that just because you're saying like the poltergeist energy was like just all of the dark energy beings?
no,
Like,
it's just my energy that wasn't expressed properly.
hmm.
I did a meditation course, a mediumship course when I was 25 with an old lady called Miss Moran. And doing the meditations, every time I did them, I'd see these devil faces coming at me. I'm like, oh. And I phoned them and said, I'm not doing these anymore. I said, oh,
Right.
it's really not nice to meditate and see all these devils coming at me. She
Yeah.
said, it's your own stuff. I'm like, really? And she said, yes. She said, just put across, which was a bit Christian. And she said, just do a cross and think of Jesus and just push that cross gently away. She said, and it'll go away. And it did.
Wow.
And it was just my own reflection of my own stuff. It was really, when your body's so full of stuff that it can't express, the energy has to go into the outside world.
Right, because energy doesn't just dissipate, it has to go and
Exactly. Oh yeah.
express
I
itself.
could never get a watch more than 6 months it would break. I could never, even when, you know, we recorded on those old cassette things. I
Right.
had to get a new cassette player every other month because the electrical energy would just like everything.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
That's interesting. But the more work you did on yourself, the lighter that you became frequency
Exactly.
wise. And
Because when you let it go, you're not pushing it away. You're not getting rid of it. You just
right.
let it go.
Yeah.
And once you let it go, you physically, mind, body, spirit, the whole thing starts to balance nicely.
Yeah. I feel like that's like a really good life lesson for us all that we're kind of all working on is that idea of the resistance. We without even consciously being aware of it, we create resistance
Yes.
to the letting go, or we create resistance to the receiving, or
Yeah,
right, to the
exactly.
very things that we want, we create
Yeah.
a resistance towards
It's
it.
true. It's true. It's because of those are called limiting beliefs, and they're from your childhood. You know, you can't have everything you want. Money doesn't grow on trees. You know, we heard of a glass ceiling on our happiness,
Right,
and
right.
that's really important that we learn that there is no glass ceiling there. It's our imagination. So if you think about it, negative emotions are not real. Shock horror. They feel real, but they're not. If you think about light, you can touch light. You can touch the vibrational light. You can't touch a shadow. It's not real. If I touch this, I'm not touching a shadow. I'm touching a lack of light. And
Hmm.
no, there's no light there. That's all I'm touching. Okay. So same with negative emotions. It's an absence of love. It's an absence of safety. It's an absence of joy. So when you recognize that, negative emotions are just as useful as the positive ones.
Right.
They tell
Yes.
you, I don't feel safe. Can we talk about this? Can we get rid of this? It just shows you what you need to clear in order to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we touch just on numerology, because again, this was another, this is when I talk about having great teachers. There were
Yeah.
certain things that you had said all these years ago, and all these years later, there's still things that I use when I'm teaching, when I'm right. And
Great.
and you talk to us about the idea with the numerology of how, you know, and I'm going to get you to go into detail because mine will just be Reader's Digest version of it.
Yeah.
But just how, if you're in a year which is supposed to be a money year for you or a career money
Yes.
for, but instead of you putting your energy and your focus in your career and your money, you were like worrying about your relationship and you're
Correct.
like,
You waste the whole year.
right,
You waste the year. It's like literally, and people say, well, I want to get married this year. I'm like, it's in a marriage year. Why would you do that? You
right.
know, this is a year you're supposed to be working on yourself. So do you want me to do your numerology quickly?
Sure. Yeah, that's we'll show how it works. How
Yeah, exactly. What's your birthday, Jodi?
March 28th, 1972.
So being an Aries, you need to be a leader, of course.
Of course.
And all the systems fit so beautifully together. It's quite amazing, actually. When I was doing my PhD, I actually did a whole chart of the chakras, the numerology, the old seven ways of Hermes, and it's just like a massive jigsaw puzzle that all fits beautifully together. It's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
So 28, when we add them together, comes to a 10, which is a 1. So that's your number one job of this lifetime, is to be your own person. And it literally says you will be born into a family group where you will not be allowed to be your own person. It's like, be quiet, do what we say, not what we do, kind of thing. In the middle, you have a 3, and the 3 is the third chakra. Of course, it's the empowerment chakra, and it's the best shape. It's a triangle. It's a very balanced shape. So that says, I want joy, harmony, and balance this lifetime, and to be self-empowered. And of course, that means in previous lifetimes, you were not self-empowered, nor did you have joy, harmony, and balance, right? So this lifetime, you've got to go for it. Interesting, because 1972 adds up to 19, and that is another 1. Oh my gosh, that's 2 1s and a 3. Are you kidding me? So that literally means it's like I am determined to be my own person this time. Nobody's going to tell me what to do or how to do it. Right? I'm going my own way. I'm going to be different. Okay. We add those together and we get a 5. And 5 is your life path. And a 5 life path is, I need free choice in the universe. I need to use my voice in my work. I need to be able to travel. I need to have freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of everything. So they're actually really good numbers. I'll swap you mine any day. It's like, and when you look at 2025, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, really? 10. So you're in a 4-year, you're in the same year as me. I'm in a 4-year as well. A 4-year is about not putting yourself in 4 prison walls, but building a beautiful foundation for the future with four cornerstones. Okay.
Wow.
So this is a building year for the next number of years coming in. You've got another 5 years left in this cycle. 2026 is a 5-year, and that coincidentally is your destiny year. So
Wow.
it means this year, if we can do it a year ahead rather than wait till we get there,
Right.
open 5 new doors this year, and you're going to find that next year just flows beautifully. It's amazing. And then, of course, you've got the 2025, which is a 6-year. Officially, a 6-year is a relationship year, so meeting the love of your life. And the higher level of the 6 is helping humanity. So making humanity aware. So that would be a good year to write your book this year.
I'm writing it. It's coming out this
Exactly,
year.
I
It
know.
is.
If you can get your book out by next year, then you'll find 2025, it will really be amazing.
Wow.
And of course, you're coming into 2026, which is a spiritual growth year, when you're learning what do I want to be when I grow up, no matter how old you are. And then 2027 is an 8 year of money. So financially, ideally, we want to work on what kind of book can I write that will make me financially free in 4 years' time.
Wow.
Not, just what book can I write because I want to help everybody out there. That's not the
Right.
goal. You've got the 2 1s there, and the 2 1s say, I will be different. People will know who I am. Sorry. Like me. Hello, I'm out there. Right. So very good.
I love
You've
that.
got some nice years coming in, actually. This is the one where you've got to make decisions about moving things out of your life. Numerologically, the universal year is a 9, and you've got a 4 year, and I'm the same. So it's getting rid of everybody and everything that doesn't serve you. Getting rid of old clothes, old books, old people, friendships that have been 20 years suddenly disappearing from your life. It's like, goodbye. Right? Bringing in new people. And of course, finding your soul group family. Your soul group family, we have our DNA family, which we inherit, the stuff we needed to. And then we have the secondary group that comes in, which is a soul group family, and they're all waiting for us to find them. So I've got some great soul group family members all around the world. They're amazing.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
it's the kind of people who you tend to say, hi, you remember 300 years ago last time we met?
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Really cool.
Yeah,
But
that's
they're
beautiful.
great numbers, those. Jodi, well done. Woof.
That's awesome. I'm
You were
excited
definitely here
about
to
that.
make a difference. Interesting, there's no 2s or 6s. So as far as relationship concerned, if you want to find the love of your life, that's fine.
Well, I'm married to him, I think. We were toward 23
Okay.
years. So
Okay, perfect.
yeah.
And then, but it wasn't necessary for you to pass the lifetime. In the relationship, it is necessary for you to be your own person, to be self-empowered, to be interdependent, not codependent.
That makes sense. Yes.
And then you'll find that you being your own person, it'll be a really happy marriage then. Fabulous.
Yeah, that's definitely been part of the experience of going back and forth, the role changing and growing for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's
the work
wonderful.
you're doing is fabulous. Helping people is what it's all about.
Yeah, that's interesting that you're saying that because I've had other validation from other friends, colleagues that do all of the magical stuff that we do, and they were saying the same thing about the book with the writing the book. It's been 5 years of me writing the book, and it's had its pauses where I've stopped and we lost my mom to cancer this last year, and I know you had a hard experience with that as well. And it was the part in the book where I was actually writing about my mom and I and our relationship. And that's when I had paused, and she got diagnosed with leukemia, and I stopped writing for, the 14 months that she was fighting for her life. And I understand now that, I'm being told that the book is changing and morphing. It's not just a story. There's going to be
it's never just nobody wants to know your life story. They're really not interested. What they're interested in, and this is my publishers told me this, I'm not being mean to you.
Right.
They said they're not interested in your life story. What they are interested in is what lessons did you learn that they can learn too.
Right. Yes.
And the interesting thing is if you put it in the order of the chakras, you'll find the book just flows really easily.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, because you remember the base chakra is prosperity in the body, the physical body.
Right.
The next chakra, the sacral chakra, is orange, which is it's the change, the passion. What are you passionate about?
Right.
The third one is the self-empowerment chakra, your solar plexus chakra, and that's yellow, and it's about how can I get out there and empower myself and empower other people? And you've got the heart chakra, which is giving and receiving. Remember, the giving is the green, the receiving is the pink.
Right.
And then we've got the throat chakra, which is what can you speak about? How can you find your voice? How can you find your heart? How can you find your voice? And then, of course, you've got the 6-pointed star, which is the intuition, and then the crown chakra. And that's how can we give to the world? How can we then give back to the world?
Wow.
So if you put it literally in that order, you'll have a fabulous book.
Right. I feel like it's kind of already doing that. It's already progressing naturally into that,
and then at the end, you do the introduction and the conclusion.
Right.
My publishers wanted me to write a new book, and they wanted me to write the introduction first.
Right.
And I said, but I haven't written the book yet. How do I know what's in the book?
Right.
Well, we know what you're writing about. I'm like, I want to write the introduction after I've written the book, because then I'll know what the book's about. I can tell people.
That makes sense.
It was
Yeah.
logical to me, but they were like, no, we always do it in this order, chapter 1, chapter 2. And I'm like, that's not how writing a book works.
Hmm.
You write something simple, an idea that comes in, and at the end, you can put it together in the right order, and then put the introduction, then the conclusion.
Right.
And just don't follow it like in a consecutive order. It won't work. Your head doesn't work like that.
Right. Yeah. And life doesn't work like that.
No,
Right.
life does not work like that.
Right. For
Well, I've
sure.
got about 3 books on the go right now, Jodi, so you're not alone.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. So tell us, because I feel like this time when all of these souls that are incarnated in this particular time, right? Obviously, it's a big deal.
It
And do
is.
you feel like right now, like what do you feel like is coming? And if we look at numerologically, astrologically, what's 2025 going to be like for all of us that have come here to do work?
I think we're actually entering the age of Aquarius for good this next year. So this is a 9-year completion universally. Next year, 2026, will be a rebirth year. That's when the whole planet will change dramatically. Okay. So if you think about the 2000 years from 0 to 2000, that was the basically Pisces. That when Jesus died, that was where we began doing the counting.
Mm-hmm.
And then 33 years before this turn of the year 2000 was called the cusp period. And we went into the cusp period in 1967, which was when the Vietnam War people were saying, no, I'm not. The flower power stuff came in, the
Right.
internet came in. I mean, the changes that happened in that 33 years were more than the previous 2000.
Right.
And of course, as we came into the cusp period and into 2000, that's when all the disturbances started happening. It was kind of the transition period, when you're having a baby, and yet that 20 minutes transition feels like the longest of the whole 10 hours kind of thing.
Right. Right.
We're just exiting that now. So we're just going into the new era of Aquarius, which is about Pisces was about water, water, travel by water.
Right.
Aquarius is travel by air. It's about teaching. It's about, Pisces was God, the priest, the people. Aquarius is about us and God, and we're all one. Right. So
Right.
it's a lovely age to be. I think we're really lucky to be born in this time, actually, all of us, especially us from the 60s and 70s. That really, because we saw that big transition happening.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's not a normal thing to go through, of course. And of course, the 29th of this month is when the Chinese New Year starts, which is the year of the wood snake. And the wood snake is very lucky. The last time the wood snake was here was 60 years ago in 1965.
Oh, wow.
Which is exactly the same kind of transition time again that we're going to do for another 33 years. So I think it's very exciting, actually.
Yeah. And so does it feel like this? I mean, because, every January, everybody's like, oh, I get to start brand new. It's like new beginnings. But
Yeah.
I felt like when we come into this January, it was like, okay, now you really need to clean up. Like, this is like,
Yeah,
get rid of all the stuff, lift up the rugs. What you've got,
exactly.
like big cleanup time.
Big cleanup time. And the last 2 years for our soul group, whoever's listening is in our soul group, you're in our soul group family. And the last 2 years has not been fun for any of us. It's
Yeah.
really been not an easy time at all this last 2 years, because it's saying wake up, something different needs to happen. And like
Right.
you said, this year is a cleaning out year,
Yeah.
cleaning cupboards, cleaning people, cleaning the body, cleansing. I'm doing my liver cleanse tomorrow night. I do a liver cleanse about every 6 months, and it just keeps me arthritis free and pain free. It's magic.
Yes.
So yeah, it's all about just cleaning up. And then next year, with the whole new beginning, 2026 is a 1 year. And a
Right.
1 year is about new beginnings, total
Right.
beginnings all around the world.
So I guess we just have to hang in there for this,
This
really.
year's a roller coaster year. 9 years a roller coaster year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just got to hold on and fingers crossed. However, here's the good news. If you can use the 9 years as a 1 year, so if you pretend that this year's a 1 year and we're starting, so you actually make new beginnings,
Right.
you enter into that 1 year, then you just blow into it instead of the unconscious mind throwing things at you.
Right. I guess we can go back and use all of the teachings that you're, with the NLP
Yeah.
and the hypnosis, right? And
Yeah.
because is it true that the mind doesn't understand when something is real or something is made up?
Yeah. You think about fairies. If you type fairies into the internet,
Right.
Millions of sites on fairies. Do fairies exist? Who knows? But the internet
Right.
believes it does. Okay, so your mind will believe whatever you tell it to believe, as long as we can get the conscious mind out of the way. It's
Right.
the conscious mind that gives us all the issues. The one that says, I don't think so, I can't be rich. I don't think so, I can't find the love of my life. I don't think so, I can't, and it's nothing to do with reality. Once you release that limiting belief, I always think of it like a bridge. And the conscious mind's there going, sorry, money doesn't grow on trees. You can't go over the bridge. Sorry. And the unconscious mind's on the other side of the bridge saying, throw me the ball. I'll catch it. I'll get you what you want. And because we have to get the conscious mind out of the way, that's why in hypnosis we do that nice safe place in nature, go there, feel beautiful, feel wonderful. And then we put the suggestions in.
Right.
Or we confuse the conscious mind. So it's like, what are you talking about? And while it's doing that, the unconscious mind says, throw me quick, I got it. Thank you. Right. It's a very, very normal and natural process. And, I always think if I've got somebody in front of me I'm not sure how to work with, I'll literally invent something on the spot and think, wow, did that work? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've done it for so many years now. It's so easy for me. I can work with anybody who's sitting in front of me.
That's wonderful. And so how important do you feel that meditation, having a meditation practice is?
100%.
Yeah.
I learned when I was 18. I learned with the Maharishi in Manchester. The Beatles Maharishi guy. And that, until I was very disturbed as a teenager. When I started learning meditation, I finally learned how to calm down all those horrible emotions. I wasn't crying myself to sleep every night anymore. And, it was when I was in my 30s that I discovered the hypnosis. And the difference between meditation and hypnosis is just the depth. Meditation is you go into alpha, you go into that place where when you're writing or when you're drawing or painting. And that's when the unconscious mind can bring you new ideas, bring you manifestations. If you're busy all the time, you're in your conscious mind, you can't bring anything in because it's got no resources. And then when you go into hypnosis, you go down into alpha, then hopefully down into theta, which is where the real healing occurs. If you can get someone to go into hypnosis deeply, then they'll get an amazing session. And 20 minutes hypnosis or meditation is equal to 4 hours sleep.
Wow.
So, people who can't sleep, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I've got my phone there ready and I just wake up and go, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Another hypnosis. Thank you. Good night. Yeah, it's great stuff. I love it.
Beautiful.
It's
That's
really
beautiful. And is there anybody that you've ever met that you weren't able to put under hypnosis? Is there any mind that's not able to?
No, it's not about putting someone under. You're inviting them to take suggestions.
Okay.
So all hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and you're in and out of it naturally every 20 seconds. There's not one state of hypnosis that isn't a normal and natural one to get.
Really?
Right. So something like eye catalepsy, I'll say to people, have you ever had eye catalepsy? And they'll go, no. I'm like, how many times have you stared at a fire? And when you're staring at a fire like that, you're in eye catalepsy. Right.
Really?
And it's like the things that we think are unusual in hypnosis are not unusual at all. They're everyday occurrences.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's so much that we don't necessarily know the 100% of, right? But we just get an intuitive feel about it. I just want to ask you, because they're just showing me this right now. What is your feeling or your perception about the hypnic jerk? Do you know the hypnic jerk? Lots of people will ask me about that feeling of when you're going to sleep and you're falling asleep and you're jerked out of it feels like you're jerked out. What's your feeling behind what that is?
It's just as you're going to sleep, the unconscious mind is searching to make the file folders go into order. That's why I don't like a gratitude book, because a gratitude book, whenever I tried to keep one, it was like, thank God this day's over. Good God, still breathing. Thank you. I hope tomorrow's better. It was never grateful. What I do is an accomplishment book. So what happens is at the end of every day, you're supposed to put that day to bed and then wake up the next day. What we do, we lie in bed thinking of what we should do, what we need to do, what we have to do. And then you drift off. And of course, your unconscious mind, you've set the unconscious mind working. So of course it's off going, oh my God, we didn't do that. Oh, I've got to sort out these file folders. Oh, wake up, I want someone to talk to you. And it just kind of jerks you out of it because it's found something that you were thinking of that you sent it off to do.
Right. Yeah.
So rather than do that, if you write an accomplishment book, 3 things I did today that I accomplished, fantastic.
Right. Wow.
I mean, already today I sent out my social media things. I'm talking to you. I've already seen a client. I'll be going later on. I'll be going to the store and picking up some things. I'll be paying a couple of bills. I've already accomplished about 10 things today already.
Yeah.
And they're not big things. And what happens is when you do that, it stops anxiety happening.
Hmm.
Because anxiety is a future-based emotion that says, I don't know how this will end, therefore it must end really, really not well. And you hype yourself up and da 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 da. If
Right.
you take someone to the future and show them that they've got a beautiful future and it's amazing, and then
Right.
bring them back to now,
Right.
they're fine again. Anxiety is gone. It's
Yeah.
a bit like stage fright. You know, when you're going to go onto the stage, where the stage fright comes is just before you go on the stage.
Right.
What we do is we take people onto the stage, and I tell them, right, say thank you very much. It was a lovely experience knowing you all, as though you just finished your speech. And then the whole class gets up and goes, wow, amazing. Thank you so much. You saved my life. You're such an interesting person. And they're standing there doing this, even though they're doing
Right.
nothing. And
Right.
then I'll say, now go back and try and be afraid of going on the stage. And they'll go, I'm really excited about it. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you just take them to the completion. And then with, for instance, having a baby, when you're working with hypnosis and having a baby, you don't talk about the pains. You're talking about having the baby in their arms at the end of it and how beautiful this soul is and how
Right.
the soul's been growing and they've been nurturing it. And you
Right.
keep taking them back and back to the end result. And they just literally go through the transition really easily.
That's wonderful. I feel like we kind of all need you as like our personal little guru guide.
Yeah,
A guide telling us, okay, no, don't go there. Come here. This is much better as
yeah,
we
exactly.
well, and thankfully you do have resources available. So let everybody know, our listeners know how they can connect with you, how they can work with you, what you've got going.
Okay. Lots right now. I mean, I'm doing 365 days of daily tarot free readings and numerology. So you can go to TikTok or YouTube and watch them there. Go to YouTube particularly because I've got lots of techniques that you can use and, clear anxiety, meet your guide,
Yeah.
uh, clear negative emotion in less than a minute, etc. And then go to my website, Global Welcome, GLOBAL, welcome.com,
Right.
and have a look at the programs there. Right now, I'm not doing a lot of teaching because I was teaching a lot last year and the year before. This year, I'm working more on making courses online because people want them online now. So,
Mhm. That's great.
yeah, I've designed a tarot course which will come out about March. I'm going to be getting back to my hypnosis course. I almost did it, and then I gave up. It was just too big. It was too big in my head.
Right, right.
And looking at it now, I'm like, I almost had it done. Why did I
Right.
start that at the last minute? Right.
Yeah,
Which is
timing
kind
for
of
sure.
interesting. Yeah.
And so do you still do one-on-ones with clients then? So if
Yes,
somebody
I
wants to
do. I
come
do
in.
the tarot, palmistry, and numerology is one reading, and it's nearly 2 hours. And I usually get them to send me the palm prints ahead of time so I can show them on Zoom. Exactly what I'm
Right.
so cool, that Zoom thing. It's got a little
Yes.
flicker that you can show them. And I do breakthrough blueprints. So I do a 4 hour blueprint session. So they send me 3 pages of everything that's ever gone wrong with the whole life. It's much easier to clean up the whole life than it is to clear it up in bits.
Right.
It's
Wow.
so, tell me every trauma you've ever had,
Right.
every experience you ever had with relationships, every experience you had with your mother and father, every addiction, every whatever it is. And I usually say the one thing you don't want to tell me about is probably the only thing I need to know.
Right. Right.
So I look at it as just a puzzle, like a detective story,
Right.
and I'll get the 3 pages ahead of time. One guy sent 27 pages, but he did have a
Hmm.
heck of a life. I mean, I
Oh
must
wow.
admit, he's like, get the popcorn ready to read this. I'm like, whoa, it's like a film. And yeah, so I get the 3 or 4 pages. I work through them to get the limiting beliefs. And when I do the session, we're on Zoom, and we clear all the limiting beliefs first, and then we clear the negative emotions, and then we put you back together with the hypnosis. And I do another couple of sessions after that.
Wow.
And basically, there's usually no need for a third session. I've done it all.
Wow.
I'm working with teenagers and with 20-odd-year-olds. So simple. It's only one session. Whole life,
Wow.
simple
Wow.
session. They
Yeah,
haven't
that's
built
great.
up all those strong neural pathways that us older ones have got, right?
Right. Right.
They're very flexible still. So they've got
That's
plastic
beautiful.
brains, and you can just get the plasticine and just wheel it around a bit.
Right. Yeah,
Well,
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm thankful that you are here, and I'm thankful that you're such a great resource. And I'm thankful that you've come through, the tough period that we've all had in the last 2 years. I
Yeah.
feel like there were so many of us teachers who really in the last couple of years we were like out, like we were like
Yeah.
waving the white
Completely.
flag to take care of our own stuff. But I feel like because of that stuff,
Yeah.
we are like back better than ever.
Exactly. I'm going in totally different direction that I never even dreamed I would go in right now.
Yeah.
And it's like I'll get an idea, I'll think that's a really good idea, and someone will say, "Why can't you stick to one thing?" And I'm like, "Because I do everything, and I love doing everything. I do everything
Yeah.
really well. I
Yes.
learn it to the nth degree, then I go on to the next thing,
Yes.
and I like bring them all together like a puzzle. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it works
You're like an
beautifully.
energetic detective that sits there and looks at the
Yeah,
pieces and brings
oh,
all
I'm
the
going to call
pieces
myself
together.
that. Oh, nice one. Good one, Jodi. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I will make sure that I put all of your links so everybody knows
Thank you.
how to reach out to you, how to connect with you.
Yeah.
She's given us actually a beautiful gift, and there'll be a link in there to go and do a relaxation meditation hypnosis, right? It's a little, I did
Yeah,
one
it's a
today
clear the
before.
stress MP3 actually. I
Yeah.
did use the word stress because people don't relate to relax. So clear the stress.
Clear the stress, which we all need to do.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, and then we would definitely, I want to have you come back on the show and we'll explore. We didn't get to talk about the past life regression stuff
Oh
and
yeah.
all of that. So we have lots to talk about. And I'm sure by then you'll be doing way more new stuff that we'll bring on and we'll talk
I
to you about
know.
it as
I
well.
know. I think I reinvent myself every 6 months, and it's I love doing that.
It's
It's like
beautiful.
yeah.
We in this day and age with the energies that are coming in and the
Yes.
times we need to be doing it.
Yeah.
We
And
need
people
to be.
don't realize how talented they are. You know, when I'm doing a palmistry, they'll say, I had no idea I could do any of that. And I said,
Right.
wow, you're artistic, you're creative. You've got this little finger that's like to longest little finger. I've got a long little finger.
Right.
And the long little finger says you should be in the public eye.
Wow.
And they go, yeah, everybody's always told me that, but I'm shy. I'm like, well, get over it. Let's do some work and clear that so you can do what you came here to do, right? So
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah,
yeah, it's
let's clear
magical.
it so we can do what we need to do.
Exactly.
That should be
Exactly.
our motto, right? Let's clear it so
Yeah.
we can do what we need to do.
Thank you. Exactly. Get your life sorted so that we can actually find your high purpose. Is
Yeah,
that great?
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show,
you, Jodi. It was lovely. I
and
really
we'll
enjoyed
have you back
myself.
again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay,
Anytime.
beautiful. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Collective Soulversations Podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we hope that you found our chat both inspiring and thought-provoking. Your support means everything to us, and we're excited to keep this journey going with you. So make sure that you subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a review and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps us grow and connect with more wonderful listeners like you. Until next time, stay curious and keep those soulversations flowing.